IFW, the international voice of freight and logistics.
Thanks for tuning into IFW Radio, the voice of the freight and logistics industry. I'm Kizzy Nkwacha, and I'm joined today in the studio by our very own Mr. David Badger, who's going to be bringing you a roundup of the week's headlines in the news. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Kizzy. Well, the biggest news last week was that the global container market will be affected by overcapacity for at least the next 12 months, according to one analyst. AXS Alphaliner has warned that the global container fleet will grow by an average annual rate of 8.7% over the next 2 years. It estimated that 1.26 million TEU would be added to the fleet in 2011 and 1.33 million TEU in 2012. However, demand has already started to slow, and the trend is expected to continue over the next year, said Alphaliner. Overcapacity in the container ship market is expected to persist for at least one more year, with demand expected to slow significantly this year to below 8% from the estimated 13.6% growth of 2010. Now, down in Australia, berths at the port of Brisbane are now almost all open, but the clean-up of flood debris in shipping channels will affect operations for weeks ahead. Hydrographic vessels are being used to locate obstacles in the water and measure siltation levels, said the port of Brisbane. Berths at Hamilton Reach are still being cleared, but all other berths are open, and most wharves are undamaged by the recent Queensland floods. Container rates on all four major trade lanes declined last week, fueling speculation that prices may remain soft for the rest of the year. According to the Shanghai Containerized Freight Index, rates on services from Shanghai to Europe slipped by $39 to reach $1,342 per TEU on the 14th of January, compared with the 7th of January, while rates to the Mediterranean fell by $21 to $1,212. Over the same period, prices on services heading to the US East Coast were down $42 to $3,198 per TEU, and prices to the US West Coast were down $39 to $1,977 per TEU. The falling rates come despite the Shanghai Shipping Exchange estimation that ships on the Asia-Europe and Trans-Pacific trades were sailing with a utilisation rate of around 90%. There is speculation among container derivatives brokers that prediction of a year of stable rates may have been premature, and that rates may continue to decline. More than 8,000 people in the UK have now signed up to the Fair Fuel campaign to stop fuel tax increases that the industry claims will cost it £375 million this year. The campaign has the backing of both the Freight Transport Association and the Road Haulage Association, and is being coordinated by haulier Peter Carroll. James Hookham, the FTA's Managing Director of Policy, said the Fair Fuel campaign clearly struck a chord with the national mood. The petition went from 0 to 100 signatures in the first 60 seconds after the campaign was officially launched. In the United States, trades groups have launched a new attempt to get the government to repeal antitrust immunity, following the loss of support in Congress of campaign frontman James Oberstar. Last year, as a congressman, Oberstar introduced the Shipping Act of 2010 to end the antitrust immunity that foreign-owned carriers have enjoyed in the US since 1916, and to stop shipping lines engaging in joint negotiations on freight rates or surcharges. However, in November, he lost his bid for re-election to Congress, and so the shipper groups are looking for another supporter within government. 29 trade groups, led by the National Industrial Transportation League, have sent letters to chairmen and ranking members of the Congressional Judiciary and Transportation and Infrastructure Committees and the Senate Commerce and Judiciary Committees, urging them to abolish antitrust immunity and place US importers and exporters on a level playing field with the carriers. The FDS's sale of its Irish sea routes to Stena is being investigated by the Irish Competition Authority, and separately, hauliers are concerned that DFDS's withdrawal from the market could push up prices. The Competition Authority said that an initial investigation into Stena Line's £50 million proposal to purchase DFDS Seaways Belfast to Birkenhead and Belfast to Heysham services had been inconclusive, and it would be looking into the deal with more detail. Australian airline Qantas has reached a settlement to resolve its liability in an air cargo services price-fixing class action suit in the United States. The flag carrier will pay $26.5 million, which is based on freight revenue to and from the US, and Qantas will cooperate with the plaintiffs. In return, the airline is released from claims made by the class members that were direct purchasers of air cargo services to or from the US between January 2011 to September 2006. The class action has been brought against a number of airlines over the activities of their freight divisions and was launched in 2006. In the US, 18 airlines and 14 executives have been charged in the investigation, More than $1.6 billion in fines has been imposed and 4 executives are in jail. Eurotunnel's market share has recovered substantially since the fire in September 2008, and last year Shaw's shuttle traffic increased 42% year on year, carrying more than 1 million trucks. However, the Channel Tunnel operator said that carryings remained below 2007 levels. 3 of the world's largest shipping lines will cut capacity on the Trans-Pacific trade when Chinese factories close for New Year celebrations next month. The New World Alliance, comprising APL, HMMM and MOL, said the reduction in capacity would last for around 6 weeks and would involve the carriers omitting sailings on the SAX, PSW, PCX and PCE services. They said that other services might be adjusted to ensure complete port coverage and that customers would be notified ahead of deployment changes. The UK government revealed last week that the A8 between Belfast and Larne Port in Northern Ireland is to be upgraded to reduce congestion. The Freight Transport Association, which has identified the road as a key route in need of upgrading, said it welcomed the decision but warned that funds must be allocated to other roads in Northern Ireland. Pirates operating off the coast of Somalia kidnapped 6 crew members from a Danish cargo ship reported to have been carrying weapons. They then abandoned the vessel. The crew members, 2 Danes and 4 Filipinos, are thought to be held on a captured Taiwanese fishing boat. NATO sailors said that the ship's cargo had been found intact, and a spokesman for the EU NAVFOR anti-piracy division said it was unclear why the pirates abandoned the ship. Almost half of IFW readers believe that governments around the world are not doing enough to tackle and prevent piracy. Just under 50% of the readers that voted in our most recent poll agree that world governments need to be coming up with different solutions to combat the problem. IFW agrees that the human and financial costs of piracy are spiralling and should be given much more attention. So we are launching a campaign to highlight the real impact of piracy on the supply chain and the people employed with it. Over the coming weeks, the IFW team will analyse the real impact of piracy on the maritime and supply chain industry, the vessel operators, the crews that work at great personal risk to keep global trade on the move. If you'd like to share your views or experiences on piracy, please contact the editor at kissy.nkwacha@informer.com. Full details are available on the website. You might also like to look at Friday's Friday Focus, which is the start of our campaign to publicise the piracy.
IFW, the international voice of freight and logistics.